Hello, hello, hello. There was a wayward traveler. We had a wayward up on my rambling anyway. Let's go ahead and get into part 8 of Exodus. I feel like we were already on part 8, but I don't think so. Anyways, let's go ahead and hear this little section, or this quote here, by Adine, of course. Out of the air, a voice without a face, proved by statistics that some course was just in tones, but some cause was just in tones as level this place. Okay, let me start again, sorry. Out of the air was a voice without a face, proved by statistics that some cause was just in tones as dry and level as the place. The Shield of Achilles by Adine. So this part sticks out to me here. Out of the air, a voice without a face. So out of the air. Who talks out of the air, right? Through a cloud. We learn here in this section of Exodus, right, that God comes down from Sinai. Not really. He's up on the top of Sinai. Moses is on the top of Sinai, and he announces to the people laws, commandments, because unruliness is everywhere. So now here comes the laws. We're not going to go through all 10 of the commandments. It's something that is pretty well ingrained in our society, pretty well ingrained. Of course, you can go back to chapter 20, I believe, chapter 20 of Exodus, and go ahead and read them one by one, but we're going to go over 2 today. And then we're also going to hear about Jethro, which is Moses' father-in-law, right? Moses' father-in-law. So we're going to see what he has going on as well. And if you would allow me one moment, I'm going to put in some personal time for work so I can get this done. It's only going to take like 10 minutes here. So let me just go ahead and adjust this. I have like 5 minutes to get this set up here. A little bit of a late morning for me, but well deserved for sure. All right, let's go ahead and sign in. Yes. Always the morning process. It does take like 15-20 minutes for me to actually get logged in the morning for work, but I already did some of that, hence the delay. Alright, just any moment now. I appreciate the patience always. You know, sometimes I can be a little bit all over the place. But after reviewing everything last night, everything sounded good. It sounded not too crazy, right? I know I can go off on my tangents, but everything was pretty by the book. And I think that is the problem that some people have with the way that I speak about the text, is it's pretty much straightforward. I think you can gather some larger understanding into what I'm talking about by the way that I say things and what I put emphasis on. So that's my true goal, is for you to garner your own other understanding and your own relationship with the Lord, right? It's not for me to say. I mean, I will tell you exactly what's going on, and I will give you little insights here and there. But as far as gathering your own insight, that's something that is on you guys. And that's the problem people have. They want to be told the hard truth, right? They want to be told everything outright. They want me to go ahead and say something that maybe I do not have the power or am entitled to say. So I think that is kind of the main thing with that one. I'm not saying like they specifically, are watching my videos and analyzing them and saying all these things about them, right? I'm just saying that's just the general energy, right? But no, I'm telling you exactly how I see it, how it is from my perspective. So, okay, let's go ahead and begin. Part 8, chapter 18. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, had sent word to Moses. And again, Moses is still out in the wilderness, some distance away. He says, I, your father-in-law, Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons. So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. Moses answered him, because the people come to me to see God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and instructions. Moses' father-in-law replied, what you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you, and you cannot handle it all alone. Then Moses sent his father-in-law on his way, and Jethro returned to his own country. Okay, so we hear now about Jethro and his opinions on the way Moses is governing the people. And Moses is expressing his difficulties. He's saying, yes, I'm having trouble managing all of this. Like, it's over 600,000 people, almost a million people. Right? That makes sense. It's almost 1 million people, including the women and the children. So imagine, just one man governing all of that. He definitely needed some assistance. Of course, he had a council of elders, and he had kind of like a legal system in place almost. So he was doing okay, but of course it's exhausting. It's exhausting. So, I mean, that's why we have the cabinet, the presidential cabinet, and our 3 branches, right, governing our entire nation. And that's why it works as smoothly as possible. But even then, we see the faults and we see the errors, even with, hundreds and hundreds of people managing, a few million people, billion people. I don't think... How many people live in the USA? I always get confused now. How many people live in the USA? Anyways, it's a hard task for Moses. Oh, yes, 331 million. 0.9 million. So we're still in the millions in the US. But imagine, one man here, Moses and the elders, managing 1 million people is a challenge for them. So Jethro sees that. He's like, yeah, you need some help. So Moses is like, thank you for your advice, and sends him on his way. So something happens, right? So Moses went back and summoned the elders of the people and set before them all the words the Lord has commanded him to speak. So something, we'll just continue here. Then Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke, because the Lord descended on it in a fire. The smoke billowed up from it like the smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. As the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and the voice of God answered him. Alright, so we go into the 10 Commandments, right? God really just appears in like a smoke, billowy cloud. I don't know if Moses saw God face to face and was talking with him, but the voice was loud enough for everybody surrounding the mountain to hear. Something I didn't mention here, there were regulations and content to go ahead and lead up to this Mount Sinai speaking. So it was important for the individuals to be sanctified before. Something about like ceremonial washing had to take place. They couldn't touch the foot of the mountain. There was a bunch of stuff that they had to do to get them ready for this coming, and they were just like very anxiety ridden and nervous before this happened. But nonetheless, God spoke the 10 Commandments at this time. So the 2 that we're going to go over is, you shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. The second one here is, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. So again, there are 10, right? I just go over these 2, and there's something to say about saying these 2. I think these 2 are definitely something that we need to work on. I'm not gonna lie. I think I say, oh my goodness, a lot. Maybe a little too close to comfort. I'm like, oh my, pause, goodness. Something that I can work on for sure. And you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not covet anything that she has. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, whatever, cats. Anything that belongs to your neighbor. When the people saw the thunder and lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the mountain smoke, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance and said to Moses, Speak to us as yourself, and we will listen, but do not have God speak to us, or we will die. This part is hilarious because, God's voice, they're hearing God's voice, and they are just like, oh my goodness, they are just in shock, and they're actually very, very fearful of this moment. They are just, in shock. That's the best way to describe it. They actually had the fear of God truly in their hearts, and they were fearing death because it was so intense. And they probably felt guilty too at the time, because they're like, oh, well, this is things that we're doing, how do we stop, blah, blah, blah. So they're probably feeling a little guilty as well. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites this, you have seen for yourselves that I have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourself gods of silver or gods of gold. So this is kind of the main thing here. He's like really just telling them in person, right, with the sound of his voice, that you are to focus on me. You are not to put anyone alongside me, and yada yada yada. So that is something very, very clear that God speaks from the beginning. No idol making of silver, of gold, no materialism to us in present day. It's not relevant at this time. All of the 100% of our focus should be on the Lord at all times. So now, with this being said, the Israelites are still demanding some kind of specific law and something specific to their personal relationship, but at this time the 10 commandments really do cover like the moral compass that we were discussing, and why that is so important and so relevant is this lack of the moral compass. I mean, people understood, yes, you really shouldn't kill anyone, that sort of thing, but this was set in stone quite literally that these things cannot take place, right? In order for your society to function and flourish, these things cannot take place. And again, this is where some of the criticism comes from, like, oh, God is just controlling, he wants people to be slaves, or, man made these up for people to be enslaved. But no, like, it's legitimately like a reasonable set of rules and laws to go ahead and better society and not to make things difficult on one another. So that is the answer to that. We're going to go on to the more specific, like, rules of the area, right? Rules of the tribe that was gathered. And we're going to learn about, why those rules were necessary as well. But for now, I'm going to stop. I've got to go to work. So I appreciate the listen. Have a great day, a great hump day, a great Wednesday. And I was going to say sleep well, but yes, if you're going to bed, sleep well. Good morning. How do you do? Bye-bye. All right. Bye.